makeup brands. Seriously. We've got what, 1,300,000,000 people here? And you're giving us 6 shades? That is not enough shades. That is not enough undertones. Hi guys, it's Diego. This is actually gonna be my first video on my second channel. If you know me, it's nice to see you again. If you don't, I am a musician currently living in China. As an artist, I've been doing my makeup since I was 15. You know, I had to perform, I had to go on stage. I would like to think that I know something about looking good. Today's video is all gonna be about how to do your makeup as a guy. And of course, also for girlies out there who wanna look more natural, this my skin but better kind of look. It's gonna be a full tutorial of every single step, exactly as how I would do my makeup to get camera ready, to get stage ready. So if you wanna see me transform from this to this, then keep on watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Also, you might notice that I'm speaking English instead of, you know, usually on my main channel, I speak Mandarin for the most part. I kind of want diversity. I want this channel to reach more audience. A lot of you guys were like, oh my God, we miss your English content. Ever since you moved back home to China, you stopped doing them. And I'm like, yeah. So I feel like this would be a good opportunity. Usually I would start with skin prep. I'm gonna skip that today. I don't want this to get too overwhelming. If you guys are interested, let me know in the comments. I'm gonna make a separate video for that. All right, I just took a shower. I currently have nothing on my face. The only things I have on are moisturizer and sunscreen. Definitely don't forget to wear your SPF during the day. I know that some makeup products have SPF in them, but trust me, they're not gonna be enough. I don't really have problematic skin. My skin concerns include some acne scarring here, and also the most noticeable issue would be my eyebrows. I don't really have a lot of eyebrows naturally, and I think when I turned 18, my mom took me to the salon and I got my eyebrows microbladed, thinking that that would be a great idea. Unfortunately, they have faded. They have left a red mark on my skin. They're really noticeable. I've had people ask me, why are your eyebrows red? And I'm like, they're not. They just faded. Really not a good look. One thing I'm gonna keep mentioning throughout this video is if you're a guy and you're looking for a natural makeup look, work with thin layers. Don't put on too much product at once. Anyways, let's get started. The first step that I usually do would be a color correcting primer. It's definitely optional. I have a lot of redness on my face. It might look okay because the lighting is gorgeous. The thing about color correcting primers is that it will help you to use less foundation or tinted moisturizer, whatever you prefer. My go-to at the moment would be the Makeup Forever Redness Corrector Step 1 Primer in the shade Soft Green. I usually just take about that much. I believe this is silicone-based, so it's gonna work really well with a silicone-based foundation, which I will be using in a bit. I just take a little bit and put it all over my face, especially the areas that have the most redness, and I just blend it out with my fingers. If you can see, I have some acne scarring here. And sometimes if I really need it, I will go over some areas again with the same primer. For example, here, I put some on my brows. I just tap, tap, tap. I'm gonna wait for it to dry a bit. As you can see, it really does cancel out the redness. And then, you don't have to do this, but I currently live in Beijing. It's super dry out here. I have products that used to work for me, not working for me anymore because the humidity is just so dry. So I usually would put a little bit of the Bobbi Brown Vitamin Enriched Face Base on my dry spot. I used to have the jar. It's just not the most sanitary in my opinion. So I actually prefer a little sample tube like this. This contains 15 ml and it's more than enough. I literally just use the tiniest amount. This is how much I will be using. And I put it underneath my eyes and a little around my nose. Blend it out. Meanwhile, I'm gonna put on this lip balm. It contains SPF. Definitely a must for during the day. This is by Ballistex. Now that my primer has pretty much dried, the next step would be to cover up my dark circles. I have really good lighting right now, but trust me, it's a lot worse in person. I've tried and tried many products, high-end, drugstore, I've tried Chinese local brands. None of them work for me. When I was back home, you know, in my hometown, I am originally from southern China. It's more humid there. I used to love the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer, but unfortunately, since I came back to Beijing, they stopped working for me. They crease like no other. It's giving patchy, it's giving old. I ended up picking up the NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer, and I originally intended to use that for my acne scars. They work wonders for under eyes. I use the shade Honey and Vanilla for under my eyes. These are brand new. First, I'm gonna apply Honey to color correct. I just usually use one of these. I mean, this is really cheap. I think this came with one of the samples that I ordered. I'll just grab a little bit. This is one of my secrets, but I use, you know, these like laminated paper as my mixing palette. I got it from Tmall. I'm sure you can get these from Amazon. They come in packs of 5 usually. It's not literal paper. I think it's for dentists. It works very well, and I usually just take my brush, thin out the product before going on my face. And I am only applying this on my dark circle. I'm not going all over my under eye. And then I'll grab one of these flat top brush. This one is from a Chinese brand. It's called Tan Yi. I'm just poking really gently underneath my eyes. That is one very thin layer of concealer underneath my eyes. I mean, as for guys, I would recommend you to not completely cancel out your imperfections because I still need structure. I still need texture. I want my skin to still look like mine, but better. Also, it is, in my opinion, impossible to completely erase dark circles, especially if they're structural. What I mean by that is if I look down and the light doesn't hit the right way, it's still gonna show. That's just physics. If you have harsh light coming directly above you, your under eye bags are gonna show, and that's just the way it is. Makeup is only gonna do so much, so don't be too concerned. And then, if I'm really feeling fancy, I'm gonna use the shade Vanilla to brighten this line. I'm grabbing my brush, and I am just taking a little bit of the product. Very important, don't just go directly on your face. I will even it out, mix it a little bit with the honey that we used before. Directly put the highlighting shade on those two lines. I'm gonna blend it out. So this is how my under eyes look after applying 2 shades of concealer. Next will be something that I'm so excited about sharing with you guys. I started doing makeup since I was 15. I have never found a foundation this good. I know this product came out a while ago. I wasn't really able to try it when I was younger because NARS is expensive. Now I have combination skin. It's more oily during the summer, leaning towards dry during the winter, still really oily in my T-zone. As I've mentioned, I live in China and I've been living in China for the past 4 years. I never really realized how amazing it is to have 50, 40 shades available in Sephora. And I think it's definitely something I want to talk about in another deep dive. I went to the NARS counter because I wanted to try the light reflecting foundation. It's really popular. They've got 6 shades from L0 to L4. There are a couple in between, like 0.5 shades. And that's it. Nothing in the medium family, nothing in medium dark. And I understand that, different beauty standards, but 6 shades, 3 out of them out of stock. Makeup brands, seriously. We've got what, 1,300,000,000 people here? And you're giving us 6 shades? That is not enough shades. That is not enough undertones. This is what I'm looking for in a foundation. My face is a lot paler because I use retinol, I use tretinoin, I exfoliate with HA. So it's a lot paler than my neck. I'm not dark by any means. In fact, I think I'm quite pale. It's been very difficult for me to find my shade. This, as much as it looks like a nail polish, it is my favorite foundation of all time. It is the NARS Sheer Glow. Unfortunately, NARS discontinued this in China. I don't understand why. I think they spent all of their budget into promoting their light reflecting foundation. I tried that one, not for me. I have oily combination skin. It's patchy, it peels, it gets too shiny throughout the day. This one, however, it gives the most delicious finish. It is silicone based, so it's really gonna hide your pores. It wears flawlessly all day. It's one of those foundations that the longer you wear it, the better it gets. I use the shade Santa Fe, which is medium 2. I had to get this from a reseller from Russia. First of all, it's discontinued, as I have mentioned. And second, medium 2, you're not gonna find that here. Other than this, I also really like the Estee Lauder Double Wear. This one is not really my shade. This is 1W2 Sand. I have peachy, warm undertone, and this is too yellow, so I have to mix it with a peach-colored mixing medium. I'm telling you, it gets old really fast. You're not gonna always mix the perfect shade for you. And some days I use too much of the peach corrector and it looks weird, and some days I don't and it just doesn't. Okay, it's just not, my back. One thing I don't like about this foundation is that it doesn't come with a pump. Originally, my reseller was nice enough to, include a pump in the package, but it looks so ugly. I'm a huge fan of NARS, and you're gonna notice that throughout this video. A lot of my products are from NARS. I'm gonna shake. I'm gonna use this dentist paper mixing palette thingy. I'm just gonna put out 1 pump, and that's more than enough. I'm going to teach you how to get the most natural thin layer of product on your face. In most cases, we don't want to look like we're wearing a lot of foundation. That is usually the telltale sign that, oh, he's wearing a lot of makeup, which is not an issue if you don't mind. That's just not what I'm going for. Now, I squeezed out all of the water out of my sponge. I'm going to use some tissue to fully dry the surface. I'm going to squeeze out just 1 pump. And as you can see, the viscosity of this foundation, I learned that word from Marlena, founder of Makeup Geek. The viscosity, it's there. stick, it's not dripping. So I'm gonna be taking my stainless steel spatula. It's really thin. It's gonna help me get a very even thin layer of product. So what I do is I take the spatula and I just run the spatula lightly through the foundation. So it's got a little bit of the foundation on the spatula. I'm just gonna go ahead and swipe it across my face. This is really satisfying, especially with silicone-based foundations because it's so smooth. It's like, you know, making a cake. I really like it because, you know, it scrapes off the excess product on certain spots and you can apply it somewhere else. See how that's like a really thin, even layer that you can't really achieve using your hand? And I'm just gonna start bouncing. I used to just use the end of a brush as my spatula, but, you know, I saw my friend Catherine using this one day when I was back home. And I was like, oh my God, girl, you're so extra. Like, what are those? And she was like, it's actually really good. You should try it. And I bought it and I can't live without it. And the reason why I prefer using a sponge is because it is definitely the tool that gives the most natural finish and it doesn't look heavy. I tried using a brush with this foundation and it's just too cakey. And I don't know, whenever I use a brush with a foundation, it just makes my skin peel a little bit. Even if I exfoliate with an HA prior to applying my makeup, it makes my skin flaky. I don't know why, but that's just what it is. As you can see, this is a perfect match to my neck. It's not that obvious because of the lighting. So that is the left side of my face done. Again, like I said, work with really thin layers and build it up if you need. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side of my face. It's so satisfying. You don't want to push too hard when you're blending out your foundation because that's gonna actually make the sponge absorb more product. I really like this foundation because I feel like it still let my skin show through, and maybe that's because of the technique that I applied it with. I think it looks really natural. I can still see some redness, but not too much. Scarring here is like pretty much gone. I usually go over some of the more problematic areas again with a little bit more product, but that is one layer. Now I'm just gonna put on a little bit more on my temple because that's where I have the most scarring. A little bit on my cheek for the redness. I'm gonna blend it out again using a sponge. This is by RT. It's one of my favorite. I've been using this one since I was in high school. I really like the flat top. Such a delicious, just the right amount of radiant. Unlike the light reflecting foundation, this one just gives the right amount of glow. It still looks like skin. It covered my red microblading mark super well. And then I'm gonna go in with another NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer. Oh, hello. My kids are here. My baby girl. She just woke up from sleeping. She's so cute. You just woke up. 是不是刚睡醒? Again, this is impossible to find. It's too dark of a shade for them to carry in China, so I had to get it from the same reseller from Russia. I'm gonna use the shade Macadamia on my acne scars. This is a little bit too yellow for me. I think I can use a shade a tad bit darker and a little bit more neutral. I placed an order on Sephora US and I did use a reship service. I got the House Labs Triclone foundation and also this concealer in the shade Tiramisu, which is a shade darker. It's not here yet, so we're gonna make it work. Same flat brush, I'm gonna dip it into the product, and this time I'm not gonna shear it out on the paper. I think it's a little bit too light, but once it's dried, I think it's okay. Same thing, same flat top brush, I'm gonna blend out the edges. I wouldn't really touch the area in the middle, I just want the edges to be blended out. And this is how my skin is looking. And that is pretty much all I'm gonna do for my base. If I really want to do the most, I'm gonna take Vanilla, which is again, the highlighting shade, and I'm gonna grab a little bit and I'm gonna start highlighting my face. Tip of my nose. This concealer is super blendable. There's something about the texture, it's so perfect. I'm gonna use the tip of the sponge and start blending this out. See how easy that was? I just blended out the highlight. Now my favorite product for contouring will be the Fenty Beauty Match Stick. I just realized it's sticks, not stick. This one is in the shade Amber. They reformulated it. The cap is no longer magnetic. I'm almost out of this product. I know that some people say the reformulation is a bit too red for them, but for me, this is perfect because I've got peachy undertone. Unless you're shade 0, I wouldn't suggest going in with a contour that is just straight up gray. It's just not gonna look very natural. I'm gonna be using this Make Up Forever 150 brush. I don't ever let my products touch my face unless it's like a brow gel or brow pencil. Anything else, I use a brush. I'm gonna start by tapping kind of where my cheekbone is, very lightly. On my forehead, see how natural it is? Such a gorgeous finish. It doesn't take away your foundation. A little bit on your jawline. I don't really like liquid contour or liquid blush. Liquid products just take away my foundation and my concealer. All right, that is contouring all complete. The powder that I'll be using is Wet and Dry Powder Foundation by Kiko. I'm just gonna use a fluffy brush like this. It's got a little bit of coverage. As you can see, it's almost gone. I'm just gonna grab a little bit, start setting my under eye. I'm also gonna set my smile line. That is all that I'm gonna set for now. Next, which is the most important part of my makeup routine. I just have naturally really sparse brows. If you want natural looking eyebrows, I would recommend using an eyebrow pencil. Now, this is by a Chinese brand called Zunlan. Now, what is special about this eyebrow pencil is that it's green. It is greenish brown because there are so many people who have the same issue that I have, which is the aftermath of microblading. So they actually created this brow pencil specifically for covering up microblading marks. The green is going to cancel out the red really, really well. We're going to draw in little fine lines. I have this sandpaper that I got from Temu. These are really fine sandpaper, so I would swipe my brow pencil over this once or twice to really make sure that I'm getting the sharpest line. I don't really like talking when I'm drawing my eyebrows. Again, it's getting dull. See how fine this is? Now, I definitely did my brows a little bit more dramatic than I normally would do it because I want them to show on camera. If you naturally have more eyebrows than I do, this is gonna look really good on you. We're gonna move on. This might seem like a step that is not necessary, and you can totally skip this. I do believe doing what I'm gonna do is gonna give you more of a defined look. It's gonna make you appear, as much as I don't like using that word, a bit more masculine. Really, what you need is a good neutral eyeshadow quad. Now, one of them being the LA Girl eyeshadow quad, and this is Urbanize. This is nice, but not as long lasting, not as blendable. It's affordable. The other two, one of them being Tom Ford 27 Mink Mirage, definitely one of my favorite eyeshadow quads out there. I mean, Tom Ford just has some of the best eyeshadows. They're super pigmented, super blendable. This is the most blendable eyeshadow I've ever tried, but unfortunately, Tom Ford decided to discontinue this quad, so you can no longer buy this. You can still get it from eBay or other resale websites, but the price, it's insane. They mark it up. And the last one is the one that I've been using. This is the NARS eyeshadow quad in the shade Koron. Same sort of color theory, super blendable as well, very pigmented. This is what we're going to use today. All right, to start it off, I'm going to grab the 207 brush from Picasso. I'm going to use the lightest shade. A little tiny bit is enough, and I'm going to blend it out with my palm first, using this as an all over eyelid shade. All right, it almost adds a little natural contour. You can totally just stop here, but I usually like to go in with a little bit more. So, and then I'm going to use the 206 brush from Picasso. I'm gonna get the third shade, same thing, blend it a little bit on my palm. I'm gonna keep my eyes open. Find exactly where my eyelid fold begins, which is here. I'm gonna apply this darker shade right on top of my eyelid fold. I'm gonna start contouring my nose using that shade. So and same thing on the other side, again, right on top of my eyelid fold, almost like connecting my brow bone to my nose. All right, I'm gonna use a 205 brush from Picasso, which is a large blending brush, and start blending. And then I do this thing. I don't grab any extra product. I just use whatever is left on this brush, and I go straight across. It gives more depth. I don't really understand how, but it just does. And then I will be using this Makeup Forever 202 brush. Same thing, the third shade. Again, blend it out a little bit on my palm. I'm gonna give myself a fuller lower eye bag. I don't know how to say exactly. It is a technique that is really popular in Asia. It's gonna give you a more youthful look. You'll see. I will start in the middle, right here, under my eye, and just draw a very thin line, okay? Do you see the difference? Same thing on the other side. I'm gonna be using a round, tapered brush. I don't really know what it's called, but it looks like a pencil. And I'm gonna start blending what I just drew. Now, to bring out what I just did, I'm gonna use a matte highlighter. I'm gonna use a small brush like this. And this is a matte highlighting powder from Klados. And this is their lightest shade. This is in the shade S001. I'm gonna grab a little bit of the powder. I'm going to highlight above that line we just drew. That is how that looks. And lastly, for the eye, same thing. NARS, I'm gonna use the pencil brush, dip in the second shade, blend it on my palm. I'm going to fill out the outer corner of my lower lash line. Go out and extend it a little bit downwards. This is quite the contrary of the foxy eye look. It makes your eyes kind of go down. I believe this is a more flattering look for guys. All right. That is eyeshadow all complete. And lastly, before we set our makeup, would be blush. Something about this blush just gives you such a healthy overall look. This is Ginger by Laura Mercier. Unfortunately, mine is completely broken. It's this orangey type of color and it works so well, especially for guys. This is a Wet n Wild blush brush and I've had this for I don't even know how long. I just grab a little bit of the product, blend it, evenly coat it on the mirror of the compact. I blend it again on my palm. I like to go straight in the middle of my nose bridge. It's such a sun-kissed sort of look. And then I go underneath my eyes as well. I go around my cheek, in the middle of my forehead, on the top of my chin. This is blush, all complete. Lastly, if you've got facial hair like I do, I usually go over it with a dark eyeshadow. You know, with all of the powder, the foundation, you know, some of it is covered. Still, I will use this Koron eyeshadow. I'm gonna be using this last shade. This is the Sephora Pro Blending 27 brush. This is my first makeup brush. I got this when I was 15 in high school in Canada. I think it was my first time going into Sephora and I was so nervous. I was kind of shy about it because I was the only guy there. I had super oily skin. Somebody recommended the Makeup Forever HD powder, which I still have till this day. It's one of the best powders I've ever used. And I bought that powder and this brush. Don't ask me why I thought a brush this size is gonna apply facial powder. I knew nothing. And honestly, that kind of ties with my obsession with NARS because I remember going in the store in Sephora and looking for that Makeup Forever HD powder. And I saw the NARS display and I was like, oh my God, this is so chic. The font of the label, the packaging, it's so sleek. It looks super cool, but I looked at the price tag. Makeup Forever products are by no means cheap, but they're cheaper than NARS, at least at the time they were. And I remember really wanting to get some of NARS products, but it's just way out of my budget. Like, I mean, the HD powder was out of my budget and I had to save. And, you know, over the years, NARS just kind of became, you know how you like wanted to get something when you were younger, but you weren't able to? And when you turned to an adult and when you started making your own money, you kind of just like go ham on buying that product. That is me with NARS. That and also they actually do have really great products. Before we go, we're gonna set this makeup. The makeup setting spray that I'll be using today would be the Bridal Makeup Setting Spray by Skindinavia. You know, one of my tried and true. I can be on stage under bright lights and it just won't budge. I've been using this since I was in high school. Do you see how that like completely brings life back into my face? A good setting spray is really gonna take off that makeup-y look. I'm gonna use a little bit of the NARS light reflecting setting powder. It's a pressed powder. I'm gonna be using a tiny little brush like this and grab some product. Just set it where I usually get the most oily. The thing I love the most about this powder is that it doesn't have that powdery finish while still setting your makeup really flawlessly. Now, what I'm about to do next is gonna be very personal. My eyelashes grow straight down. I usually would curl my lashes just to open it up a little bit more. Curling my lashes, I'm using the Shurumura. I've had this since high school. I don't really know if that's gonna show on camera, but look how much that opened up my eye on this side. And compared to the left, it's a very minor difference, but it's definitely there. Same thing on the other side. All right, this is really the last step. I believe this is actually an eyelash base. It's a Japanese brand. It's Atuse. I use this as a brow gel. It's tinted. It's got little fibers in it. I just apply it as a brow gel. Now, sometimes if I put on too much product, I use a spoolie to make them stand up more. And that is this makeup look all complete. I'm gonna do my hair and come back in a bit. All right, I'm back. Now, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm not even sure if I'm gonna post this. It is my first time trying to film a video like this. Definitely let me know what I can do better and tell me what your favorite products are. Makeup is for everyone. I truly believe that. I hope you've learned something today. If you have, please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and let me know what you wanna see next. I can't wait to see you again. All right, bye-bye. Also, I forgot to mention this, but remember to remove excess foundation off your lips. This look is truly gonna last all day.